So we just finished watching Marauder. We had a lot of people online actually seeing it for the first time. Thought it was great. And I was just mentioning that for me, it was a surprise when I first saw the film that the Marauder was a female. And I thought that was really a good surprise, a pleasant surprise. And then I really liked that line at the end, to get more bullets. I thought that was great. I wanted to ask you, Brendon, I know that you had mentioned that the inspiration for this film came about, I think, from a drive going through the Badlands near Calgary. Tell us a little bit of how the film came about.
Yeah, I mean, we'd been trying to find a story with a motorcycle. We had an actress in mind we really liked, and we kind of had been tooling around, and we took a trip down to Indio. We went to go see
Palo Alto.
Palo Alto, yeah, to see Tom Waits, and it was a long drive, and we just had a lot of time, especially coming back, we came back through the Crow's Nest Pass, I think, and we were just familiar with the Badlands, and we live out here. It's like a really crazy, like almost sci-fi world out there more, but it just kind of got our minds going, and we had enough time to kick around enough ideas, and Jordan went and kicked out a script, and yeah, we went from there. And luckily we got some funding from the Alberta Foundation for the Arts, and yeah, that's kind of
and down in that Crow's Nest Pass area, we were driving through Coleman and some other towns that kind of have a very apocalypse vibe. They have some dead areas, so it was easy to think of like a post-apocalyptic film happening down there.
Cool. Just as you were talking, I just saw some messages coming up. People are sending hearts and saying, good job with the movie, guys. They really enjoyed it. Tell me a little bit about what it's like as an indie filmmaker in Canada. And being an indie filmmaker anywhere is difficult, I'm sure. But what's been your experience here?
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out just a little bit, but do you just mean in Alberta?
Just in Canada in general, or sure, specifically in Alberta if you want to?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. There's never enough money, and I think you go into any of these film festivals as like the Canadian submission, but I think that the films people think of as Canadian are actually like, it's not, the cliche is not there anymore, and I think that like it's pretty obvious we're able to put together like really good crews that like rival the look and feel of other like American productions, and maybe that's just like a little bit of the underdog mentality, but a lot of the people that worked on this work on humongous shows now and do like really crazy stuff, and I just think it's nice to try and aim at that, and
yeah.
I think there's something too about like specifically in Alberta, and I know it's probably similar in other provinces, but having access to like the Alberta Foundation for the Arts to be able to get a substantial amount of funding from them was really integral in putting the film together. And then also having some of those limitations is good, because then you just have to be smarter. You have to really look for ways that you can add production value without adding money. And you have to like make your days count, and you really have to kind of rely on the community. And I think specifically in Alberta, or in Calgary, because that's where we're from, but we've just worked on so many other people's short films and helped other people, and then they come and help us. And so that helps a ton. So we were able to call in a lot of favors from friends to come help before we got such a good crew. So it's tough though, like Brendon said, it's still tough, but it does add an element where you can kind of get crafty.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because really, so I mentioned about the Marauder being a female, how that was a surprise, but the thing, and I'll get back to that in a second. The thing that really struck me about the film was, I know you guys were working on an indie budget, right? So that means not a lot of money, and money when you're making movies goes super quick. But you guys were able to create an environment that was so lush. Like it looked really big budget, like it really looked like the typical post-apocalyptic scene. You know, and a lot of it had to do with like the how you like decorated the set and the clothes that everyone was wearing, the car, how it looked weathered. And yeah, I think you guys did an amazing job with that. So I'm sure it required a lot of creativity to make all of that happen with an indie budget.
Yeah, that was mostly Bobby. Oddly enough, even in some of the wardrobe, he kind of saved the day on helping us find some solutions. But he like put a flamethrower on that Camaro. He did the bike up to the point where I got pulled over because the cop thought I was driving a broken motorcycle. And like like Bobby Vanone is like just killed it for us on that one. So.
And then a lot of it too is outdoors. Like we only had 1 or 2 indoor sets.
Yeah.
And so then that's the kind of the Alberta landscape in southern Alberta that really helps blend itself with the Badlands and with, you know, some of the other little town site areas. And then we got a gas plant. We got a decommissioned gas plant to be the kind of a layer for the bad guys, and that helped add a ton of production value.
Do you think that being like forced to work with such a small budget sort of pushed you to, you know, explore all of these different options and alternatives to see how you could make it so great? It almost like challenges you to think outside of the box creatively, maybe.
Yeah, it's the only way. I mean, it's like famous painters had to paint within a frame, and that was their limitation. So they created like chiaroscuro lighting to like create 3D depth. It's you know, the limitations define what we all do. So it's like
I compare us to famous painters all the time.
I mean, sure, but
no, you're right though. What you're saying is true. I'm just sticking with you.
It's just one of those things. It's like, you know, you have to embrace it and have fun with it, or.
But also, I think there's an element too where it's like if we had all the money in the world and the biggest budget, like $200 million, it wouldn't necessarily make the film better. It might make it a little slicker and maybe some names in it. But I think sometimes having too much money or too many resources can be bad too, because then you can wait more at your feet. You can try and make things perfect. And with us, we just had to make the film, and sometimes you make some concessions in order to make the day or get the shot or get that scene. And sometimes I think working in those limitations helps.
Yeah. We wouldn't take out the money, though.
No. Yeah. we take that challenge.
Of course. So one of the questions that somebody posted, and for those watching, if you've got a question for Brendon or Jordan, type them in and we'll do our best to get them to answer it. One of the questions that we had is, why did you choose a female protagonist?
Okay. You cut out a little bit, but I think you asked why did we choose a female protagonist?
Yeah.
And I think, to be frank, I think we definitely made this, like we started pitching this probably 6 years ago, started putting it all together, and it really was right before, like it got the money a week before Mad Max got announced.
Yeah.
And so it seems kind of like obvious now to do that. And like, it just, at the time, it felt like, you know, I could feel that wave of like, we needed a little more of that. We've had a lot of like Kill Bill and stuff like that. It was just, I don't know.
I think there's an element too that you play with the audience's expectations, and it's kind of fun to watch a film and, you know, you think it's all a bunch of guys and they're all just doing kind of the normal thing. And I think it's kind of interesting when you subvert that by revealing that it's female. And I think there's an element of that elevates it and adds a different story dynamic or a different layer to it that kind of makes it more interesting. I think it'd be a much more boring film in my mind if it was just a guy.
Yeah, definitely. That's a much better answer.
Yeah. Okay. On a lighter note, somebody else asked, what brew are you drinking over there?
Oh, 88.
Night Gallery Hazy Pale Ale by local Calgary brewery, 88.
Nice.
One of our film school buddies owns a brewery. He's probably going to be mad we're not drinking his beer right now.
Oh, yeah, we should have.
Shout out to Fitzsimmons Brewing.
Yeah, huge shout out to Fitzsimmons Brewing. Only available in Alberta.
So the other thing I wanted to ask is, once you guys finished the movie, did it tour the festival circuit? Where did it go, and how did you guys make out with that?
Yeah, we did a fairly long festival run, actually. It was I think it was like a year and a half. I think we did last count was like 15 festivals. The premiere was awesome. Opened up in Calgary at the Calgary Underground Film Festival on my 30th birthday, which was a pretty awesome experience. And it played in it played all over the world. Like, it was in the States. They played at a desert film festival or a post-apocalyptic film festival.
We were clutch for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, all over. There was one in Poland,
Belarus, I think, too.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one to program because it's genre, but it's not super weird. So it doesn't fit into some of the genre stuff. And I mean, at the same time, it was a real learning experience. I got the really good feedback from every festival that programmed it or didn't program it. And frankly, it led to a lot of jobs for me as a director on commercials and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think being 14 minutes long is a little bit fat for some festivals. From what we've heard from other friends, in the community who do a lot of festival runs with short films, they find kind of those 7-minute movies and less are a little bit more easy to program. And so we knew a 14-minute film would be kind of hard, but it found a lot of life throughout North America and the Balkan states in Europe.
Oh, really? Wow.
I should have fought with my writer harder under 14.
I think it would have been better at 17 hours, but
well, I think that might be much. I think 14 is a good length. 7 is good too, but I don't think 14 is too long. I think it was just right. It takes as long as it takes to tell the story that you want, I guess. What are you guys working on now, or what have you been up to since Marauder?
Jordan's writing a script called Baby Snakes.
Yeah, that's right.
Really,
it's a small town, again, Alberta-based in my mind, but a small town kind of murder mystery thing that has I'm trying to think how best to say anything about something that's still in the early stages. But we're looking at maybe putting together a feature, this Baby Snakes, that I'm currently writing, and then Brendon and I ideally direct, and we'll both produce something on a micro budget, ideally in that kind of $250,000 or higher. We'd always take more, but kind of something in those limitations to push us to do something really cool and ultimately tell a really good story.
Yeah, so that's as far as narrative, that's that. And I'm just my main career is as a colorist, and then directing commercials. So it's kind of split between that until this guy's done writing.
Yeah.
Cool. So you mentioned that that you're a colorist, Brendon, and as I said before, for me, that was I thought that was exceptionally well done in Marauder. It really added to that post-apocalyptic feel. So now I see, that connection there. So good job.
Yeah, hard to watch it two years later after I did it because you get so much better every year.
Well, that's the good and the bad thing too, because we watched something we did a couple of years ago, and you're like, oh, I changed that, and I changed that, and I changed that. We both really like the film, but I think that shows some growth where you're like, oh yeah, I think we could do that better, or that better, that better, but that's always going to be the way it is.
Yeah, for sure. That's with everybody. Anyway, I think you guys did a really great job. I want to thank you again. Oh yeah, actually, before I say goodbye, I wanted to ask, do you guys ride?
Yes, I actually broke my foot after my safety course getting my license, so it took me a while to get actually going legally. So,
Yeah, and I don't.
Thankfully we had my brother, Dallas. He was our motorcycle wrangler. So he was pretty instrumental in making it all come together.
Well, yeah, and our main actress didn't ride at all, so we had a stunt kind of double for her that was a really, really talented rider,
Okay.
and do all those really cool shots that we had, and she was great.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you allowing us to screen Marauder today as part of National Canadian Film Day. And of course, for coming online with us here to do this Q&A. I thought that was awesome. Thank you very, very much. Like I said, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. People typing in saying, great job, guys, looked wonderful, really enjoyed it. So I'll share more of that with you later. Thank you so much, Brendon and Jordan.
It's great.
And
all right, people, thank you.
bye.